Hi, this is Kylie Thompson, host of Food for Thought. Thanks for listening to the following podcast on Public House Media.
Too many of us are not living our dreams because we're too busy living out our fears. Les Brown. Ugh, does that kick you in the gut like it kicks me in the gut? Too many of us are not living our dreams because we're too busy living out our fears. I have spent a great deal of time recently listening to women talk about their fears, the doubts they've had, the roadblocks in their lives that have kept them from doing the things that they love doing. And it breaks my heart every single time I start to talk to a girl on my team or a woman in social media or just the people that I've met online and face-to-face that have just allowed fear to be the thing that they're living out, to allow the doubts that people put on them, the limitations that society has made them feel like they have to obtain, and really just watching them then grow out of it and become overcomers of things and starting to see them live out their best lives and start to live the dreams that they're capable of living those out instead. That's the best part. So while I've been listening to a lot of women recently talk about their fears and doubts and roadblocks in life, I've also had the opportunity to hear the flip side of it, how they've overcome those roadblocks, how they have overcome those fears, how they have found a new way of living so that they can live out their dreams and live out the hope and the joy in life instead of living out the doubts and fears. What you focus on, you create more of. And so when we're always looking at the problems in life, if we're always focusing on the shames, the doubts, the issues of what's going on around us, and always looking at the negative, that's all we're ever going to find. But instead, if we can reshape our thoughts, if we can surround ourselves with women and people who dream bigger and go for it and encourage us and help us find solutions, then our minds will look for those things and we'll start to see more of the good and less of the bad. And so today I want to just kind of talk about like some of the fears and roadblocks that are most common that I hear, and then also how to give you some strategies to start overcoming those. So like one of the big things that I hear from women on my team of women who are working on self-care and dreaming bigger dreams, they really had a fear of starting this healthy living journey and sharing it with other people because they didn't want to be seen as a sellout, or they didn't want to kind of lose their identity. Like a lot of women, specifically women that I know, join MLMs of some sort and, multi-level marketing, direct sales, whatever you want to call it. And they feel like they have to be a billboard for that company, or they feel like they're going to lose their identity because that's all people are going to see them as, like when you see someone as a teacher, like we have this crazy thing as a society that labels people and kind of puts them in boxes. So, when we see someone as a teacher, we often think that's all they can do is being a teacher. When we see, people be moms, like we kind of pigeonhole them into moms, or lawyers as lawyers, or accountants as accountants, and like what you do becomes who you are. And I think it's really important that we understand that we don't have to be pigeonholed in those roles, that we can live out well multiple roles in life. And unfortunately, the fear and the doubt and the opinions of other people keep us from living out multifaceted lives, keep us from living out the purpose and the dreams that we were meant to live, and keep us, in track with what society thinks we should be. And a lot of these women, the fears that they had starting was that they would lose their identity and they would have judgment from other people, that they didn't think that they could be leaders. They've always been followers, right? Like even in school, like I'm a former educator, and I would say this for sure, is that we train kids to be followers, to be rule followers, to be routine followers, to do well in school, get a good job, check off all the boxes in life, right? And so they had fears of being judged, of being vulnerable, of sharing too much, of, wondering if they had time to add something else to their schedule. These are busy women. A lot of roadblocks they had was belief in themselves. Like no one's ever taught them how to have confidence. No one's ever taught me specifically, like no one ever told me that I could be anything I wanted to be. It was just go do something big and, get a good job, go to college, get a good job, do something you like, even if you don't love it. It pays the bills, get a job. You have to be able to support yourself. And so some of the roadblocks these other women came across too was like, they would just let themselves off the hook because they didn't think they could do hard things. They would, really sway away from trying to overcome something because it was just comfortable being in this lane. And, if they really had to extend themselves and really try to grow, it might be hard. And they didn't know if they could do that. And so I don't know if any of you are relating to any of this at all, but I definitely related to a lot of these things. And, when we really look at the roadblocks and the fears that we have, I often am reminded of the pendulum lesson that my friend Trina shares all the time. And when you have high expectations and high success and high joys and high amazingness, it's like swinging on a pendulum. It's like swinging on a swing, right? Like in order to get the very highs, you also have to swing backwards very high. And so the pendulum of life is that in order for you to have the highs of highs, you also have to have the lows of lows. And if you're not comfortable having the lows of lows, that backswing, you're not ever going to get to the highs. And you're going to stay steady in this little comfort zone down below in the low-lying areas. A little win, a little low. And so I really just want to help women, especially women, find their voice, find their confidence, live out the dreams and the purpose that they were created for. And a lot of times that means overcoming the fear that people have in life. And so I want to give you some tips and strategies now to help you get over these things. The top 4 fears that people have in life, women, men, whoever it might be, one is fear of rejection. And so that's probably the biggest fear out there. I don't know why we put so much weight into what other people think. It's definitely, as human beings, we're true social creatures. And so being able to, avoiding standing out is sometimes a thing, but I would really encourage you to not worry about what other people think. Other people's opinions are none of your business. Number 2 is fear of failure. People don't like taking big action because they feel like there will be big failures. But what if you took that risk and you learned from it and you grew from it, and then the next time you do it, it's less scary. The other one that people have is the fear of success. Yes, fear of success. Maybe you're afraid of success because you fear your friends or your family will reject you because you have a different lifestyle compared to them. Maybe you fear success because you know you'll have to drop some old behaviors and habits, and that could lead to rejection from people in your social circle. Or maybe you fear success because you're afraid of getting more responsibilities and expectations. Or maybe you just don't feel worthy or capable of handling success. And so you push it away and you swing only a little bit on your pendulum so that you don't have big success or big failures. Sometimes people are super fear of a ridicule. And, this is kind of a subtle form of rejection. Maybe it's a little bit of making fun of, maybe it's that comment, the side comment, maybe it's fearing what people are saying about you behind the scenes. But, really a lot of these fears that we come up with in our hearts and our minds, so many of them are false evidence appearing real. And 99% of them will never happen. And even if they do happen, what's the worst that could happen, right? Like someone says something mean about you, I bet you've probably overcome that in the past. If you've made it to today, you've already overcome all of the hard days in your past. You've already become a winner. So let's just get rid of the other crap that's holding us down and start really living the life that we are designed to live. And so 7 little steps for you to overcome fear in your life and be living the dreams that you have instead of living up the fears is step 1 is realize that everyone has fears. It's human nature. Many people are afraid of something, but they simply don't show it. And therefore you don't know about it. A lot of people have guarded hearts. And what we see and when we interact with people on social media is their highlight reel. And so I really want you to realize that you're not alone. And if you're looking for a community to help you understand that you're not alone, come join our team. Be a part of this life-changing group of women that are here for the long haul of higher visions for ourselves, of dreaming bigger dreams and living out the purpose that God's created us for. Step 2 is to identify and write down your fears. any way that you can get them out of you. Write down exactly everything you're afraid of. Be as specific as possible. Also, label to which the 4 categories they belong to. Sometimes the fear can be in multiple categories. For like example, so I'm afraid that my friends will think that my podcast is stupid. Okay, fear, ridicule, right? I'm afraid that my business idea won't work out and I'll have to go back to my 9-to-5 job. Fear of failure, fear of ridicule. I'm afraid to share my new insights about my spirituality with my spouse, or this new idea that I have with him or her, because I'm afraid he or she won't agree or understand and therefore reject me. Even if it's a minor rejection, it's still fear of rejection. And so whether your fear is big or your fear is small, it's still fear. So write them out, get it all on paper. When you can go back and look at those things after you've identified them and write them out, then step 3 is to really kind of rank them on a realistic scale, right? When I feel fear, when we feel fear, our mind will greatly overestimate the worst case scenario, right? Therefore, we need to identify what our realistic worst case scenario is, write it out, and then really think about, is this rational? Is this irrational? Is it something that's actually going to happen, or something I'm just making up in my head because the fear is in my driver's seat? The step 4 is identify those fears in the moment and focus on gratitude instead. When you feel fearful, becoming truly aware of what type of fear it is, identify if it's a familiar feel and place it in the 4 categories we talked about earlier. This awareness alone will disarm fear, such as in a degree, and will no longer have that strong grip on you, right? You'll be able to identify it. You'll be able to replace it with gratitude. And when you can replace fear with gratefulness, it's a trick that I learned from Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins, and it feels like all the Robbins, but all the people like Les Brown, Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, Ed Milet, all of the people that all the people, mentors that I have in my life, John Maxwell, all of them talk about gratitude. And when you can put fear aside and fear disappears when you are grateful, you can feel fearful and great. You can't feel fearful and grateful at the same time. I can't get my words out. It's always one or the other. And so if you are afraid of starting a new business, you're afraid of joining a community of people, or you're afraid of XYZ, starting something new, instead of focusing on the fear, focus on being ungrateful for the fact that you've had this awesome idea in the first place. God puts little nudges in our life, and he gives us little subtle messages of little directions of how to go. He's never going to put an arrow on the road that says, this is where you should go, even though I've prayed for that lots of times. It still hasn't shown up for me. But if you can focus on those little nudges, little subtle things that he's placing in your heart and mind, he's putting those ideas and thoughts in your head for a reason. And when you can be focusing on those things, you're going to go a lot farther, because when you align your life with him, you go so much farther than if you're just trying to do it alone. And this will disappear the fear. This will take you down a path of confidence, and it will be amazing. Step 5 is, does this pass the rocking chair test? This is another technique I learned from Tony Robbins, and it's highly effective in order to put certain decisions into perspective. So see yourself at 80 or 90, sitting in a rocking chair. Heck, you could be today, 20s, 30s, 40s. How would you feel in the moment if you didn't do certain things you wanted to do? Maybe you're on your deathbed. Maybe you are just way down on the edge of life, and you're like, if I wouldn't have let fear control me, how would I feel right now? How would I feel knowing that I let certain things stop me from doing the things I let? Am I going to have any regrets when I get there? Use this feeling as fuel to kind of bash those fears aside and do the thing anyway. Becoming fearless is not about fearing nothing. It's about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. And one of the quotes and manifestations that I have from learning from Gabby Bernstein is that the more energy and tension I put into my faith, the more I connect with him, listen to those nudges, the more fearless and the free I am. And I use that affirmation every single day, because it reminds me that I can be fearless. I can trust him to lead me and take me where I need to go. And then step 6 is make a screw you fear affirmation, right? Write down an affirmation for a few sentences that combine step 2 and 3, and then use that to kind of pick yourself back up. Instead of start your day fearless by fearing less, right? So an example might be, I'm afraid that my friends will think my podcast is dumb and they'll ridicule me for it, but I know that this says more about them than it does about me. So I know that my podcast is going to be important for success in my business. It's going to be important that it's going to be consistent and support people. And so it's going to help me get better, which is going to help more other people get better. And so it's worth it, right? And so if you can put those kinds of statements into your life, you will know and see more of those things happening for you, and you'll be able to do awesome stuff, right? It's just going to help you be a better person because you're doing those things. Now, step 7 is take massive action. Action kills fear. Inaction and procrastination feed fear. And the longer you sit on something, the more fear is going to fill you up. It's like you can't fill a moving bucket, or like you can't spray a moving target, right? And so be the action taker, be the mover, take action based on the goals that you have, the things that you want to achieve, and your mental blockades will start to become weaker. They'll start to fall down, and you'll be able to take action and live the life of your dreams instead of living out your fears. And so, as today we kind of take direct, massive action, and we can navigate the way that we want to feel. We can become the people that we want to become, and we can let go of the things that are holding us back. And so one of the things that I want to do for you is encourage you to just keep following along with my social media. I talk about these things all the time. You can follow me at kjpmeyer on Instagram. You can follow me at choosetoriseup on Facebook. Keep listening to this podcast. Dig into other authors, mentors, people in your day-to-day life, people in virtual world, where you can be encouraged and supported, because the people you surround yourself with, near or far, are the people that you become the most like. So who is that you want to become? Who are the people that you want to surround yourself? And then go do it, right? Push aside the fears and become the person that you want to become. And that today, my friend, I hope encourages you. I hope it supports you. I hope you find peace of mind, and that you start living out your dreams instead of being too busy by living out your fears. Have a great day, everyone, and I hope to see you back here again next week.